Hey everybody, it's Doug Mystic Eye here on Board Game Geek. Just getting ready to do another playthrough, and sticking with a current theme, I'm going with something that is once again in the Cthulhu mythos. This one is the Doom that came to Atlantic City. You could call this Cthulhuopoly or anti-Cthulhuopoly Cthulhu-esque game. I don't know. Anyway, it's pretty different. It does quite resemble and is meant to resemble Monopoly, and it has a lot of the same mechanics, but it's also has quite a bit of variation to it as well. Makes it very different than Monopoly. So we're going to talk about how to play in this session, and I'm just going to go over the basics. The basics are actually quite simple. If you've ever played Monopoly, then you'll have a kind of a feel for it. But this is the game board right here. And unlike Monopoly, you do have very specific characters with specific, at least at the beginning, specific abilities. So let's take a look first at the game board and see. You notice it looks just like a Monopoly game board, with the exception of these gates that are in the middle here. And you notice there are Providence cards and chance cards. You notice chance is quite cleverly like a chant, to be chanting or something like that. Pretty clever. Dark omens, and this is the Migo space, where everybody starts. Over there is on the far side is Ziggy, and then over on the other far side is Banished. That's a bad spot to land on. In the middle I did put, you don't have to put these here, but I did put tome cards and gate cards that will come out during play. And let's show you something else over here. I want to show you the miniatures. Yeah, so look at these guys. This is Cthulhu here. I mean, by the way, there's a bunch more. These are the ones we're going to use in the game. But that's Cthulhu right there. He's pretty awesome looking. God, these figures are, I mean, really awesome. And then we have Shub-Niggurath right here. Looking all badass. He's pretty cool. And then last but not least, well, for this session anyway, we have Nyarlathotep. He's pretty cool looking. They're all very cool looking. There's also a bunch of others that come in the game, and maybe if you stay to the end, I'll show you what those are. But so how do you play? Well, basically, unlike Monopoly, in this game, you're trying to consume the buildings and that are on the board. They're part of the currency. You also have a bunch of cultists that you can sacrifice to do things. You can attack other players, and when you land on them, and the more you consume, the more power you'll have. You can also get banished and have to come back, and also you have to put out so many gates. The one that gets out 6 gates, that's what I believe that's one of the winning conditions. In addition to, we also have this, where each player has what we call a Doom card, and you can see these are oversized cards with some cool artwork on them. And this one says sudden death. We have a precondition of 3 gates. So once I get to 3 gates, I can start the action of this, which is initiate and win 3 attacks. Begin with the player to your left and continue clockwise, plus 1 attack bonus for each gate of Arlay. So that's his Doom. And that one is actually on Cthulhu. So speaking of that, let's just go take a look at the player boards, and I'll give you an idea. Unlike Monopoly, again, you have this very specific player character in this, and it's not just a cool figure, it actually represents more than that. So here are the player boards. You can see at the bottom here we have Cthulhu, and there's a place for 2 more traits. All the characters start with a very specific trait that's specific to them. In the case of Cthulhu, it's the Call of Cthulhu. You get +1 destruction. I'll explain what that means in more detail. You'll see it in gameplay, but it basically, when you land on a space, instead of trying to build houses, you're trying to consume them, as well as resorts, and this gives you a +1 on your roll to destroy them. And also, when you draw a chance or providence card, you may draw from the discard pile. That's Cthulhu's ability. Plus, he has his Doom for his sudden death Doom, which is one of his victory conditions. And these are face up in the game. In addition, these are gate tokens, and you'll see how those are used. Whenever you consume the last building on a space, you get to place a gate token and get a gate card as well. And then up here, you see that we have. Oh, and also they all start with a random chance card. So I got to redraw that one. We can't have those in the initial hand. Anyway, this is an event. You feel the pull of the outer realms, advance to the nearest gate and pay twice the gate toll, if any. Then draw a chance card. So we're gonna redraw that one. He shouldn't have that one. Let's see what he's got here. This is better choice. Vendetta. Use this in place of movement. Move to the current location of a foe. Okay, there's a cost associated with that. And here's another one. Slam the door. -3 destruction, or use after landing on a gate to replace it with 2 homes. Interesting. Okay, so those are the chance cards that they have, and you can see Nyarlathotep up here. He's got a weird ability. It says before making an attack roll, you may exchange this trait for the trait of your choice. And the traits are special powers that will gain during the game through provenance cards. You can basically he can use his ability to trade this and get that trait, and then if he lands again on somebody else during the beginning of his turn, or at the beginning of his turn, he can trade this back and give them another trait. And then you have Shub-Niggurath's ability, which is, of course, the Black Goat of the Woods. When you succeed in any destruction, you gain a cultist. She's got your goat. That's what that says, his card says. So those are just that's just the player boards. And again, there's some other things on here. You can see here that you have how many doubles you rolled, and if you can, doubles are great, but if you roll too many, you end up getting banished. And then also how many gates. So you can see up here that if you get to 6 gates, it spells doom. But again, we also have our other conditions. So this is the penultimate gate. This is Nyarlathotep's doom, which is his preconditions. He has to have 5 gates open. And then actions. He can sacrifice 2 cultists and 2 houses, roll an 8, and get destruction, and he wins the game. Then you have copy cataclysm. It says action: sacrifice 4 houses or 2 houses with a gate of Solano. Copy any other doom currently in play. If you meet the preconditions, you immediately initiate the action of that doom. So that's a copycat, basically. And that's kind of how it starts. And there's other things. There's tomes, which give you magic powers and also act as a gate to a certain area. But you'll see how that works in gameplay. So I don't want to spend too much more time. I think we should just get started and start with the first turn. You'll see how this goes. It's pretty straightforward. Seems very fun to me. We'll have to see. I'm kind of learning this with you guys. I haven't played it yet myself. So we're playing together, and like always, please, if you see something that I've made a mistake on or done wrong, let me know. And I look forward to showing you this game, The Doom That Came to Atlantic City. Okay, so let's get this show on the road. So this is our turn order. First thing we do is we roll for movement, then we check for combat, and we check for destruction. So I don't know if I'll have combat right away, but you also see that there are special spaces that are listed on the card. The banished spot, chance and providence, dark omens, and it tells you kind of what goes on when you hit those spaces. Anyway, we do have our dice roller right here, and we're just going to leave that to the side, and I'll roll some dice for you. We're going to go in the order that we have. So Nyarlathotep will go first, then Shub-Niggurath, and Cthulhu. So let's start with Nyarlathotep's turn. Okay, well here's the 2 6-sided dice. They got the lovely head on the one piece. But let's roll, see what happens with Nyarlathotep. We're going to take his turn. So he rolled a, wow, okay, 8. So let's go to the board and see where he gets to move to. So here is Nyarlathotep right here, his awesome figure. He's going to move 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 on Ocean Pier. Now, once he gets there, he has some choices. Now, there's obviously no one to fight. So what he can do then is, let's go over to where he is. He can do some destruction. There's two houses on there. Now his Providence card, I think, allowed him to do something. That's Vendetta, so he can use it in place of movement to move to a foe and attack him. So he's not going to do that. But what he will do is make an attempt to destroy the houses that are there. Now to do that, you need to roll a 7+. And he's going to roll once, so because that's all you can do unless you have some special abilities that allow you to do differently. So let's do that and see what happens. Okay, so we're going to roll our dice. Remember, he's got to roll a 7 or better. He doesn't have any modifiers, I don't believe. No, he doesn't have any modifiers. But let's roll for him and see what goes down. Well, he got a 6. Oh, God, he was 1 away, but he missed it, so he didn't get to do anything. And that ends his turn. So now we're going to move on to Shub-Niggurath's turn. Okay. Well, hey, we conveniently have both the bull and his figure in the view of the camera, so we're just going to roll. Let's pull this down a little bit right here so you can see. We're going to roll that. Okay, so he's right behind our bad guy there, Nyarlathotep. Now he landed on a Providence space. So what does that mean for him? Well, that means he gets to draw a Providence card, and I'll show you where those are. The Providence cards are up here, and I've shuffled them up, and we're going to draw. There's a whole bunch of things in here. They're usually extra powers that you can play. This says the Crawling Chaos. This card duplicates the top card on the Providence discard pile. Well, we don't have one yet, so he might as well put that in play. There's no reason for him not to. You can always replace them. So what we do is we just place that on his board. I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, so you can see there that we have the Crawling Chaos on his board. This is his second power. And then remember, when you succeeded destruction, you gain Occultist. He hasn't done that, of course, but that's going to end his turn, basically. So let's move on to Cthulhu. Okay, you can see Cthulhu right here, so he's got to move. We're going to roll his dice. Now, sometimes there's ways to get movement modifiers, but I don't see any point in doing those. So he got a 6. So basically, he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He ends up over here at Auditorium Piers. Now, there is a resort on there. Now, what does that mean? Well, a resort is a more powerful thing you can destroy. Not only can you, if you destroy, you get to put a gate card there, but you also get to get a tome. So let's roll for him and see if he can do that. Now, remember, his special ability is he gets +1 on destruction rolls. So instead of needing a 7, well, he still needs a 7, but he gets to add 1 to his roll. He has to succeed in 2. So let's go back to the dice roller. Okay, here's his first roll. 7 exactly because of his bonus. Remember, he gets +1, so he did get that. Now let's see if he can do it again and destroy the resort. He did not, so he failed at destroying the resort that was in that space. Okay, well that's basically a round. So we're going to go on to our next round, go back to Nyarlathotep and roll for his movement. Okay, let's roll for Nyarlathotep and see how far he gets to move. So we rolled 10. That was double, so I got to mark down his board for this turn. Now I'm going to boost his doubles bonus, his doubles slot up on his card. Now if he does that 2 more times, he is going to be banished. So that's bad in this turn. It has to be in this turn. So let's move his 10 and see where he lands. So just to show you, this is his tracker for rolling doubles. It's now on a 1. He's rolled 1 doubles during movement. Now what that means is he gets to go again after he's completed his turn for rolling doubles. So first we're going to do his 10 space move, and then we'll continue on from there. Okay, so here he is. He's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Canal Avenue. And of course we're going to take a moment to destroy a house if possible and see if he can get that done. Okay, now remember that he needs to roll a 7 or better to destroy a house, and as we go and get more cards this will become easier. But he rolled a 6 again. I tell you, eventually we'll destroy a house, I promise. And that's a big part of the game, but we have failed so far. Okay, let's move on to Shub-Niggurath's. Oh wait, no, I take it back. Now we're going to re-roll for his movement. He gets to take a whole nother turn. So let's roll for his next movement roll. He rolled a 7. Okay, so he should have rolled that on the first one and destroyed the house, but he didn't. Let's go back to the table and move him. Okay, so we're going to move him. Wait, 7 spaces. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He landed on the gate. Now what does that mean? Well, for right now, it doesn't mean a whole lot, other than when on his next turn, he can actually appear to one of these other black neutral gates before he moves. So that kind of gives him the ability to pop around anywhere on the board. But that is going to end his turn, and now we're going to move on to Shub-Niggurath. Okay, let's roll for his movement roll. He rolled an 11. That's a big move for him. So, whoop, he's right here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So he too is on Canal Avenue where he's going to attempt to destroy a house. Let's see how he does. Okay, let's shoot for that 7 again here. No, of course not. Oh, this is going to be a long game if we keep rolling like this. Alright, that's basically the end of his turn. Let's move on to Cthulhu now. Okay, so for Cthulhu's dice roll, let's see what we get. We get 6 and doubles, which means he's going to get to go again. Now that only counts for the turn, so when we go to his next turn, it's not like they'll stack up on Nyarlathotep or Cthulhu, but if he continues rolls doubles in this turn, that's when it gets bad for him. But for rolling doubles and movements means you get to take an extra move again. So let's go to the table. Okay, well here's our mighty Cthulhu. He goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The asylum is a special space, you can see here. It says the asylum, we have to sacrifice one cultist. So we take one of his 6 cultists on the board. Now, if you run out of cultists, you are banished. That basically ended that turn, but we do get to move him again. Okay, let's get our dice and roll. Okay. It's going to make a big move of 9 this time. So let's go back to the table. Okay, here we are. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Ooh, he landed on a space again with a resort, so he's going to attempt to consume that resort. Let me move the camera up so you can see where he ended up. Way up there at the top. Let's move back to the dice roller and see what he can do with this wonderful attack on a resort. Now keep in mind again that his special abilities, he does get a bonus on destruction rolls. He could still end up rolling doubles. Let's see how he does. A 7, he actually succeeded in his first roll because that's he needs a 7, but that's also effectively an 8. Come on, let's destroy something here. Come on. 6, 7, and doubles. Ooh, that's kind of close. So let's see what happens with doubles. Let's see what happens with doubles in combat, because that is going to also give him a bonus. Oh, so if you're in your destruction phase, you get to take an additional destruction attempt, unless there are no homes left to destroy, and there won't be, so that's not going to help him or hurt him. But he does get to destroy one of the resorts. Let's go to the table where he's at. You can see him up there at the top of the board at the corner, and he gets to destroy one of these. This will go on his board, and where he can use that as currency. I think he can use the resorts as well, but let me look at that. And also he gets the bonus, I believe, of drawing a tome, so let's take a look at that as well. Okay, so yeah, so he gets to, not only did he get to keep the resort, but he gets to draw one of these tome cards. Well, let's see what we get. This also counts as a gate towards his gate, towards a gate requirement for, I'll show you that later when you actually see a gate in play. Anyway, let's see what he draws. So he's got the Book of Thawne. It says when you land on an opponent's gate, you may take 1 chant card from them. It counts as a gate of Leng for the purposes of gate powers. So, let's go over to his board down here. You know, I kind of love these oversized cards. They're really neat, like tarot-sized cards. Anyway, that's going to go right here, and that's going to give him a power. Now, you can only have 1 tome in play, so Cthulhu's walking around the Book of Thoth, and it gives him a power, but should he end up getting another tome at some point, he may want to swap them out. He has a choice. So anyway, that's going to end Cthulhu's turn. Let's just take one more turn and see how things go. We're going to go back to Nyarlathotep, who is on a gate. Okay, so let's roll for Nyarlathotep's movement first. So we're going to do that. And oh man, doubles again for Nyarlathotep, and that's a 12. You know, I think he's going to... I was thinking about having him put some distance between him and his fellow opponents, but because, you know, they can fight each other, but I don't think he's going to worry about that with a 12. He's going to get far enough away and then get to roll again. So I also did move his doubles marker up 1. Okay, again, he's way up here at the top of the board, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. The temple. Now, in the temple, he does have to sacrifice, I believe. This is also like the temple. He has to sacrifice one of his cultists. He starts with 6. And that's going to end his first move, and then he gets to roll again. Okay, here we go. Doubles again. What is it with these dice? Okay, that's 2. He rolls 1 more, and he is banished. So let's go to the board. Okay, here he is. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another Providence card for him. That's awesome. You can see the Providence cards right here, so we'll just draw one off the top and see what he gets. Ooh, that's awesome. Primordial Might, +2 attack and +1 destruction. It says mighty, mighty. So that goes on Nyarlathotep's board. Now you can see that he will have a much easier time destroying homes on these spaces, the houses. So once again, because he rolled doubles, we get to roll another round for Nyarlathotep. Now if he gets doubles again, he's going to be in serious trouble. He will be banished, but let's go to the dice roller and see what happens. Okay, here we go. A 3. Okay, let's go back to the board. Alright, so he's going to go 1, 2, 3. Okay, so he gets to, at this point, draw a second Doom card. So we're going to draw one of those. let's see what he gets. He's right here on this corner space. It says draw a Doom card. Now remember, you can only have one and play it in a turn, but he's got this one, Urban Blight. Let's back up and take a look. Urban Blight says preconditions: 4 gates. Action: sacrifice 8 houses and reduce this by 1 for each gate to Yugoth. Okay, so this actually makes it quite a bit easier for him to win. This one only has 3 gates, but he has to initiate all these attacks. And I'm sorry, that's Cthulhu's. Nyarlathotep's is this one's 5 gates, and he can sacrifice and he has to roll 8. I like this Urban Blight better, so I think he's going to swap his Doom out, and we're going to get rid of that one, and that will officially end his turn. Okay, let's roll the dice. Alright, you got a 5. Let's go see what happens at the table. Okay, you can see him up here, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's on Delaware, and now he does have the Crawling Chaos. That doesn't help him right now. It duplicates the top card of the discarded Providence cards, but we don't have any yet. So let's just go. He's going to roll to see if he can destroy one of the houses there. Okay, now remember, he does need a 7, and when he does succeed in a destruction, he gets an extra cultist as well. He did not succeed, so he didn't get to do anything. That's going to be the end of his turn. Okay, last but not least, up at the top of the board we have Cthulhu. So let's roll for him and see how he does on his movement. Okay, let's roll. So 6 moves, so we're going to go back to the table and move him along. Okay, here he is. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's on Houston Avenue, where he's going to get to try and destroy a house. Let's see, he does have a card, I think. No, that doesn't help him. He's not going to worry about the card right now. We're just going to see if we can destroy another house. Remember, he has a resort there already, and houses do act as currency for many chant cards and other things. Alright, let's roll. Remember, he needs a 7, but he does get a +1 due to his basic power. And he does. He destroys a house. Bloom. Now, nothing happens there until he destroys a second house. So if you look up at the top now, he's only got 1 home there, and that one has been destroyed. Now, what does it mean for him? Well, again, the homes are currencies, but if you destroy the last property on a space, then you get to put a gate down on that space, and that's one of the gates that help you get toward your final victory condition. So anyway, guys, that was a few rounds. I think that's going to give you a good example. I'm not going to stop playing this. This is just going to be our first video, but I think that gives you a good idea. Hey, if you like this game, please comment. Also, I have a couple of the games that I'm thinking about bringing out. I've had requests for Elder Tor, and I'm getting ramped up to do that again. I've been really making sure I have that down, running through some plays before I do that again. But I also have a Relic with the expansion. We could do that. Plus, I was thinking about busting out Castaways or even Robinson Crusoe, though I know that was recently done in another playthrough. Got all kinds of things we could be doing, and feel free to make recommendations. I love recommendations. Helps me decide what to do next. So anyway, until next time, thanks so much for watching. This is the Doom that came to Atlantic City. It's basically a Monopoly style game. You can see that the turns go very quickly, which I think is awesome. That's important to me, to have nice fast turns, especially when you're playing with a lot of people on a game that's not really, it's not something you have to sit and stare at and try and think about in between turns to keep your mind occupied. So the turns got to move fast. And hopefully in the next video or so we'll get to show our guys attacking each other and doing all that sort of thing. And just to give you, I told you if you hung in there to the end of the video I'd show you what the other baddies are that are in the game, and they're miniature too. So you have Sathagwa, that's him right there, and let's find his nasty miniature. I mean, the figures are just incredible, but that's him right there. You can see he's pretty amazing. And then we have Yog-Sothoth, of course. What is a Cthulhu game without Yog-Sothoth in it? Anyway, here is his miniature. Pretty cool, right? Bunch of bubbly, gooey mess. It's awesome. And then we have Ithaca, and actually he's got one of my favorite miniatures just because it's so you can see that the features on the face and everything are just so distinct. Really cool looking dude. Anyway, that's Ithaca, and remember that they all have special abilities down here that they get to have. And then the last one is Hastur, and I'll show you his figure as well. He's kind of cool looking. Actually, they're all very cool looking. These are really nice big miniatures. I wish I had the inclination to paint them. But those are the other guys that come in the game, and again, they all have a special power. which makes them interesting. And by the way, I'm not showing you yet, but the insert in the game is great. It holds all the things in their own special spots. I love it when game companies are smart about their inserts. As you can see, the component quality is very nice. The board's very nice. The oversized cards, really well done. I guess you have to decide whether or not you like a Monopoly-style game as to whether or not this is the kind of game for you. But if you keep watching, you'll get to see some of the other nuances of the game. So again, I'll see you next time.